Hola, everyone. Welcome to the Reading Room. I am Priscilla Oliveras, USA Today bestselling author of contemporary romance with a Latinx flavor, and I am really excited to share with you two meet cutes from two of my romance novels today. I'm going to give you just a little sneak peek at one of my 2021 releases. This is Anchored Hearts. It is book 2 in my Keys to Love series. It's a standalone. So if you have not read Island Affair yet, you can jump into Anchored Hearts. I personally like to read a series in order, so I would start with Island Affair and then jump into Anchored Hearts, but either one introduces you to my Navarro familia, a familia of firefighter paramedics living and loving and working and getting through the day in Key West, Florida. And then I'm going to read a quick excerpt from His Perfect Partner. It's my debut novel from back in the day, back in 2017. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to read the back cover blurb for those of you who may not have heard about Anchored Hearts, just to kind of give you the heart of the novel, and then we'll jump in. So Anchored Hearts is book 2 in the Keys to Love series. Award-winning photographer Alejandro Miranda hasn't been home to Key West in years, not since he left to explore broader horizons with his papi's warning never to come back echoing in his ears. He wouldn't be heading there now if it wasn't for an injury requiring months of recuperation. The drama of a prodigal son returning to his familia and their beloved Cuban restaurant is bad enough. But coming home to the island paradise also means coming face to face with the girl he left behind, the one who was supposed to be by his side all along. Ana Maria Navarro was shattered when Alejandro took off without her. Traveling the world was their plan, not just his. But after her father's heart attack, there was no way she could leave, not even for the man she loved. Now ensconced in the family trade as a firefighter and paramedic, with a side hustle as a personal trainer, Ana Maria is dismayed that just the sight of Alejandro is enough to rekindle the flame she's worked years to put out. And as familia meddling pushes them together, the heat of their attraction only climbs higher. Can they learn to trust again before the Key West sun sets on their chance at happiness? So as you can see, Anchored Hearts is a second chance romance. When the book starts, I will say chapter 1 is in Ana Maria's point of view, and she's driving to Alejandro's house. His parents' house. He has just arrived in the Keys. His leg is injured, and his mommy, you'll learn that Alejandro's mom and Ana Maria's mom are best friends. So there's a lot of meddling mommies trying to push their children together again. Alejandro's mom has called Ana Maria over to see if she'll come check his wound. He has fractured his tibia pretty badly. So he's got a big, I did a lot of research, but I did not find out how to say this properly. He's got like a brace. It's an Isilla rod. So it's like these 3 rings that he kind of calls it like a Frankenstein contraption. And he's been traveling to get from Puerto Rico to get home to Key West. And his mom is worried, wants someone to come check it out. He's refusing to go to the hospital. So she calls, unbeknownst to him, Ana Maria to come and check on him. So this is the first time they've seen each other in 10 years. I'm going to start a little bit into Alejandro's point of view, where Ana Maria has walked in, and she can tell that, with his mom is there, his abuela, grandmother is there, his brother and sister-in-law and their little girl, they're all kind of crowded around in the living room. And she needs to check him out. And she's realizing that he's not going to be honest with her about pain level or anything like that with so many meddling people, listening. So she's trying to get him to his bedroom where she can check his wound kind of privately. So this is them, and he's in his wheelchair. She's pushing him down to his bedroom. And of course, his mom is following them. So here we go. As they neared Alejandro's old room, Ana Maria slowed her steps, hesitating. Memories assailed her, evil interlopers sabotaging her bid to remain aloof. Study dates, movie nights, long afternoons spent perusing the latest pictures Alejandro had taken around the island and discussing their lofty dreams. Quick stolen kisses and innocent touches, because the bedroom door always remained open. Miranda and Navarro house rules. Their last year of high school, when they'd both been ready, they had taken advantage of the rare opportunities when they'd had this house or parents' place to themselves. or stolen clandestine hours lying on a blanket, making out under the stars in the stern of her papi's boat when he left it docked in the backyard canal overnight, ready for an early morning fishing trip. Senora Miranda scooted around the chair to push open Alejandro's bedroom door, beckoning them in. Ana Maria steeled herself and crossed the threshold, stepping inside the sanctuary where she'd once woven her life's dreams. In her naivete, not realizing the fragility of the threads that tied her and Alejandro together. Comfort and dismay crashed against each other as Ana Maria's gaze trailed around his room. The space remained unchanged, a shrine to the son who had walked away without a backward glance. The same navy comforter draped the double bed pressed up against the far wall underneath the window overlooking the side yard. The same sturdy wood dresser sat to the right of the door, the matching dark-stained desk and bookcase on the left next to the closet. On the nightstand, the same framed picture of her mugging for him and his camera before they left for senior prom. Her framed copy sat in the box shoved high on a shelf in her hall closet. Senora Miranda rolled a black carry-on suitcase into the closet and tugged the bifold door closed again. Ana Maria shut off the flood of useless memories. She had no time for foolishness. Okay, let's get you in bed. As soon as the unintentionally suggestive words left her mouth, Ana Maria bit the inside of her lips, attempting to squelch an embarrassed curse. I don't remember you being this forward, Alejandro teased. He glanced at his bed, then back at her. Despite his lecherous smirk, his jaw muscles clenched, his discomfort obvious, either at their awkward situation or due to his injury. Stop being a wise ass. Here, I've got it. The veracity of his words was negated by his sharp hiss of breath when he grasped his injured leg to lower it off the footrest. Are you done being a tough guy? She berated. Let me help you before you hurt yourself. Senora Miranda stepped toward them, but Ana Maria shook her head. If he was in as much pain as she surmised, he wouldn't be much help getting into bed. The last thing they needed was the older woman injuring her back trying to heft his weight. Wait a second, she ordered, reaching down to lower the footrest to make the transition easier. Now, put your hands on my shoulders for support. Bending her knees, she lowered to a half squat in front of his chair, his right knee in between her legs. She gritted her teeth, ignoring her pulse blipping at the anticipation of him touching her again. Several seconds ticked by without Alejandro making a move to follow her instructions. Ana Maria glanced at him from under her lashes. A deep groove etched the space between his brows at his stubborn frown. She huffed, then matched him scowl for scowl. Look, I carried a 200-pound dummy over my shoulder down 2 flights of stairs during drills yesterday. I think I can handle another dummy. Fine, he grumbled. Palms up, Ana Maria crooked her fingers in a come on gesture at him. The sooner they got this over with, the better. With a disgruntled sigh, Alejandro set his hands on her bare shoulders. One of his thumbs slipped under her tank top strap to slide against her skin. Warmth seeped into her chest, and she barely kept her eyes from fluttering closed. Now, using only your right leg and my shoulders, push yourself to a stand. Do not put any pressure on your left. Got it? She ordered. I couldn't, even if I wanted to, he muttered. He shifted, then froze on a hiss. His fingers dug into her shoulders, disgruntled pain filling his black coffee eyes. His piercing gaze darted to his mom, then back to Ana Maria in a silent plea for her to not say anything. Keep the degree of his discomfort a secret from his mom. Ana Maria answered with a faint affirmative tuck of her chin. Okay, 1, 2, 3. His muffled groan punctuated the end of her count as he shifted his weight onto his right foot and bent forward. The muscle in his thigh flexed with the exertion, and she grasped his way to both steady and support him. The hard jut of his hip bones pressed into her palms, proof of his recent post-accident weight loss. Hunched over, he pressed the side of his face against her temple, his breathing labored. The urge to hug him closer, give thanks that the idiot was actually safe, consumed her. This close, his woodsy patchouli scent assailed her senses, setting her body tingling in places it had absolutely no business tingling. Jaw clenched, she ignored the unwelcome reactions, focusing on the task at hand. Together, they shuffled twisted toward the mattress in a move that had them imitating 2 middle schoolers at their first dance, awkwardly holding each other at arm's length, leaving room for the Holy Spirit between them, like the nuns at St. Mary's used to warn the students. With his fingers still clenching her shoulders, she guided his hips, turning him so he could sit on the edge of the bed. Without impressionable little Lulu, that's his niece from earlier, around to hear, Alejandro didn't bother whispering his curses as he pushed himself farther onto the mattress, while Ana Maria carefully held his injured left leg aloft. Senora Miranda slid several cushiony pillows beneath his knee, careful of the top Elizarov ring. She hovered over her son, mumbling prayers and Spanish platitudes about her precious niñito's misery. Typical Cuban mommy hovering, no matter her children's ages. Seizing her window of opportunity, Ana Maria put part one of her impromptu plan into action. Senora Miranda, would you mind bringing Alejandro some water? It's important for him to stay hydrated. I see. I will get it right away. Anything else, Nana? His mom answered. Maybe a small snack. I'm sure he'll need to get take his pain medication soon, right? She directed the question to Alejandro. Lips pinched with obvious discomfort, he nodded. Un sándwich de jamón y queso? His mom asked. A ham and cheese sandwich would be great. Grilled, maybe? Ana Maria suggested, intent on getting his mom out of the room for as long as possible. Not that Ana Maria had any keen interest in being alone with him, but something wasn't right, and he made it clear he didn't want his mom to know. As soon as the older woman left and the slap of her Kino sandals on the tiled floor faded, Ana Maria leveled a stern stare Alejandro's way. Truth. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain level? 1, he grunted as he pushed his hands into the mattress and tried shifting his position on the bed. His sharp intake of breath and full body wince belied his answer. Try again and don't bullshit me. After what you've been through, this is no time to play He-Man. I was always more of a Batman fan, remember? You know, dark and dangerous, lots of toys to play with. His full lips twisted in what resembled more of a sneer than his cocky grin. The angles and planes of his haggard yet still remarkably handsome face taut with anguish. Heaving a beleaguered sigh, Ana Maria set her backpack on the low dresser. Look, cut the crap, okay? It's obvious neither one of us really wants to be here. Her back to him, she unzipped her bag, purposefully keeping her gaze away from the square mirror hanging on the eggshell-painted wall over his dresser. Me in this room, and you anywhere on the entire island. But we can't change that, so don't make it any harder or more uncomfortable than it needs to be. Let me do my damn job and appease your mother, then we don't have to see each other again. Deal? And that's the opening. I'll give you a little hint that deal of not seeing each other again is just not going to happen. So that is Alejandro and Ana Maria. They are the love interest. I will say, yes, it's a second chance romance for these two high school sweethearts, but it's also a second chance for Alejandro and his father. If you've read any of my romances, you know that there's always a familia theme woven throughout. If you haven't read them, then it's good for you to know. So there's a big rift between Alejandro and his dad. His dad has a well-known Cuban restaurant on the island called Miranda's for their last name. It's also Miranda's because Alejandro's grandfather had a Miranda's over in Cuba. And the book mentions Alejandro's father is one of the children from Operation Peter Pan, Operación Pedro Pan, which was late 50s, early 60s when Castro was coming into power, and a lot of Cubans were able to send their children over to the U.S. with the hopes that then the parents would come and reunite to start a new life here in the U.S. And Victor, Alejandro's father, and his older brother were two of those Peter Pan children. Only their father, Alejandro's grandfather, never made it over. So the restaurant is seen as like their familia legacy. And as the oldest Miranda, it's assumed that Alejandro will take it over, but he wants his own legacy. He wants to be a photographer and bring pride to their familia name in his own way. And that's the big rift with him and his father. So Anchored Hearts is a second chance romance for Alejandro and Ana Maria, but it's also maybe a second chance for him and his father. Will they be able to make amends, or will the prodigal son leave again? So that's Anchored Hearts. I thought I would also just treat you to, this is my debut. And if you've watched any of the videos, we do talk about Yasmin and Tomas. Here are the other two. Her Perfect Affair is Rose's story, and Their Perfect Melody is Lily's. I should have pointed out this down here is Island Affair. But so the three Fernandez sisters, Yasmin, Rosa, and Lily, they are my debut series. And Yasmin and Tomas are the couple that ushered me into the world of the published author. And so I thought I would share their meet cute with you. It's pretty short. We'll see maybe how much time we have left, but this is Tomas and Yasmin, his perfect partner. And here's the back cover blurb. The back says, three very different Latina sisters, three dazzling talents with ambition and passion to burn. And in this warm-hearted, sexy new series, three chances to figure out if the path to success can lead to lasting love. Ad executive Tomas Garcia shouldn't even be thinking about his daughter's alluring dance teacher, Yasmin Fernandez. Burned by a shattering divorce, he's laser focused on his career and giving his young daughter Maria the secure home she deserves. Plus, he's certain that with her talent, Yaz will be leaving Chicago and heading back to Broadway as soon as she can. But Yaz's generous spirit and caring concern are sparking a desire Tomas can't resist and doesn't want to let go. For Yaz, good-looking workaholics like Tomas can't be part of her life ever again. She owes it to herself to get back her confidence and fulfill the dreams her papa could not. She's glad to spend time with Maria and taste the family life she feels she can never have. And she's sure that she and Tomas can keep their attraction under control because there's so much at stake. But each unexpected intimacy, each self-revelation makes the fire between them grow hotter with every step and every risk to their hearts. So this is Yasmin and Tomas. Chapter 1. The hottest guy to ever hit Oakton, Illinois, lingered outside her dance studio doorway, bringing Yasmin Fernandez to a stutter-step stop. Seriously, the guy was like manna from heaven Latino GQ, from the top of his closely cropped jet black hair down his 6-foot muscular frame to the soles of his shiny wingtip shoes. Behind her, 7 pairs of dancers scrambled to remember the next step in the preschool father-daughter Christmas dance. But Yasmin couldn't look away. Hey, a little help here? One of the dads waved at her from the back row. Sorry. Yaz listened to the music for several beats, then fell back into step with their I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus routine. In the studio's mirror-lined wall, she caught the stranger's flustered scowl. Even frowning, he still made her heart hop-skip in her chest. Dios mío, she'd obviously neglected her social life for too long. Sure, her dance card had been pretty full with other obligations for nearly 18 months now, but her lack of partner dance practice shouldn't account for the heat prickling her insides. And her line of work, hunky guys were always on the cast list. Then again, drop an attention-grabbing, well-built man into a room full of suburban soccer dads, and a woman's thoughts naturally wander down a road better left untraveled. Untraveled by her, anyway. The newcomer's gaze skimmed across the people in her studio. Yaz brightened her smile, but he turned away without even noticing her. Disappointed and strangely self-conscious, she tugged at the bodice of her camisole leotard as she led the group into a jazz square. The song's second verse transitioned to the chorus repetition, and Yaz wove through the front line to get a better look at the back row. Left hand, Mr. Johnson. Your other left. The dad groaned, his daughter giggling at his exaggerated grimace. Don't worry, you'll get it. Yaz peeked over the child's shoulder to the studio doorway again. The hunk glared down at his phone, flicking through something on the screen. His mouth thinned as he slid the cell into the pocket of his suit jacket. Yaz's stomach executed a jittery little sachet. This guy had to be in the wrong place. No way she'd forget meeting him before at the dance studio. Yaz dropped her gaze to his left ring finger, bare. Not that it mattered to her. She'd learned the hard way it was much better to look than to touch, especially if a girl didn't want to get her fingers singed or her heart flambéed. Besides, as soon as Poppy's oncologist gave him the all clear, she'd be on the first direct flight out of Chicago, headed back to New York and Broadway. Nothing would stand in her way this time. The holiday song drew to a close. Fathers bowed, daughters curtsied. GQ stepped into her studio. Anticipation fluttered a million spastic butterfly wings in her chest. He probably needed directions to another business close by. Yaz hurried toward him. Excuse me, do you need some help? Or better yet, a no-strings-attached date for a night out in nearby Chicago? Papa! Maria Garcia jumped up from her seat on the floor along the back wall, running to fling her arms around the man's thighs. Everyone else in the class turned at the commotion. Increíble. Apparently the hunk did belong here, to the usually subdued, adorable 5-year-old who'd joined the class in mid-September. At his daughter's screech of delight, the worried scowl vanished from the man's features. Relief and joy surged in. For a moment, Yaz bought into his pleasure, savoring the smile that softened his chiseled face with boyish charm. Then, with the stinging slap of a bitter Chicago wind, Yaz recalled the number of practices Maria's father had skipped over the past 2 months, the number of classes when the child had sat alone in the back, and the number of times she'd had to partner with Mrs. Buckley, her grandmotherly nanny, because her father had failed to show up as promised. Again. The attraction searing through Yaz's body cooled as fast as if she dunked herself into an ice bath after a marathon day of rehearsal. Bendita sea Dios. The prodigal father, more focused on his advertising career than his child, had finally arrived. Tardy, of course. Blessed be God indeed. You made it! Surprise heightened Maria's high-pitched cry. I sure did, chiquita. Mr. Garcia scooped up his daughter and spun her around, the picture of familial bliss. Maria grinned with pleasure. Still, Yaz couldn't stop remembering the hurt in the little girl's eyes over the past weeks because of her father's absences. Legs shaking, she strode to the corner table at the front of the room and jabbed the stop button on her iPod speakers. Everyone, let's take a 5-minute water break. Mr. Garcia and Maria stepped to the side of the room so the other class members could head to the lobby area. Anger over the weeks of disappointment he brought on his daughter pulsed a heavy, deep bass beat in Yaz's chest. She sucked in what was supposed to be a calming breath and counted to 10, then 20. So much for her brief fantasy of a friendly night out with a hunky stranger. Her first since long before she'd left New York to come home. That definitely wasn't going to happen. Not with this man. And that is Yasmin's first impression of Tomas. The meet cute happens, we switch to his point of view, but I'll leave you with that little taste of Yasmin and her first thoughts and then her second thoughts of Tomas. And we'll see what happens when you get someone who might be a workaholic dad who's trying to change his ways, and someone who might be a workaholic Broadway dancer and is having some doubts. So that is Yasmin and Tomas. I'll let you know real quickly. Like I said, His Perfect Partner was my debut. Anchored Hearts came out May of 2021. Goodness, with the pandemic, my timing is kind of off. We had Anchored Hearts. If you like anthologies and short stories, like I mentioned, the Fern Michaels anthology that has Holiday Home Run this past May, Summer in the City released. This one right here, it's an anthology with Lori Wilde, Sarah Skilton, and I wrote one of the novellas as well. It takes place in New York City, and it's the stories of 3 good friends who go off on a Friday night to go do their own thing before they have a girls' weekend Saturday morning. And Friday night, while they're out and about, a blackout hits New York City, boroughs wide. So all the boroughs, and they are stuck in their different places. My novella is Lights Out, and it features Mateo Garza, a Broadway sensation, maybe inspired by Lin-Manuel. He's from Tampa, but he is a rising Broadway star, Puertorriqueño. And it's opening night of his passion project, a musical based on the life of Roberto Clemente, And the musical came from stories that his abuelo told him of growing up and playing ball in Puerto Rico, being mentored by Roberto Clemente, something that is taken from my familia. My tío, Max Oliveras, was a baseball player. He's still in baseball. He managed and coaches and is now on the admin side, but was mentored by Clemente. And so it's opening night of Mateo's musical, and in the crowd is Vanessa, and Vanessa was his high school crush. They were in rival theater troupes. Vanessa is no longer performing now. She is a writer and she works for an online entity called The Fix, and meaning you want to know what's going on in the city, come here and we'll give you the fix. And Vanessa does culture and arts and entertainment, and she's there to review the musical. And his last play, Vanessa raked him over the coals. So he's not happy to see her. And of course, because it's a blackout, in the middle of the first act or near the end of the first act, the power goes out and Mateo and Vanessa are stuck together. So that is Lights Out in Summer in the City. And just this past week, I will say in December 7th of 2021, Amor Actually released. And this is an anthology near and dear to my heart. 7 of us Latinx Rom authors. I'm going to try to name us all. So Adriana Herrera and Alexis Daria and Mia Sosa and Sabrina Soul and Diana Munoz Stewart and Zoe Castile and myself. We have Amor Actually. It's 7. There are actually 9 stories. They are all interconnected. It also takes place in New York. It's during the holidays. There is a variety of stories here in Amor Actually. There's something for everyone, different heat levels from simmering to, ay Dios mío, how many jalapenos are in here. There a variety of love stories, male, female, female. There's polyamorous. It's just a beautiful anthology celebrating love and Nuestra Comunidad. They're all interconnected and they are all working towards the last story. Everyone is there and it's Nochebuena. So it's the holidays and it's New York City and it's our Latinx Comunidad and it's all things love. That is Amor Actually. And then coming in 2022, May, June timeframe, my latest is book 1 in my mariachi series, West Side Love Story. It is features star-crossed lovers and familia feuds and the bonds of sisterhood. The key familia is the Capuletas, and it's a group of sisters who form a mariachi band. So there is dueling mariachi bands and gentrification lines and a love story. I will give you a hint. Yes, it is Romeo and Juliet, loose retelling, West Side Story, loose retelling. It's my version. And in Romance Landia, there's happily ever afters. So Romeo and Juliet in my book, it's Mariana and Angelo will get their happily ever after. But the struggle is, how can they get there? And that's West Side Story. So thank you so much for joining me here in the reading room. Check out all of the fantastic interviews. I've done a series with Patricia, but there's more coming. So please subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and wishing you and your loved ones a love-filled day. Adios.